Coronavirus deaths this year, 2,773 deaths. Seasonal flu deaths this year, 76,512. So where's the pandemic here with the coronavirus, folks? But they're certainly pushing it. They're pushing it everywhere. As you can see here in Australia, coronavirus may already be a global pandemic. Here's what's about to change. Predictive programming, folks, they're preparing you for this. You can see here they are preparing for a coronavirus pandemic in the United States. US and Navy Marines prepare to execute pandemic plans. What if they actually made some sort of a bioweapon which was genetically specifically tailored to Chinese? So there was some sort of an outbreak in China so they can disrupt the Chinese economy and have China locked down the way they want to do. And then they just tell the rest of the world that it's a pandemic, but it's not. It's actually stuff that's being implemented and brought about through the electromagnetic system that they've got put in place.
Electromagnetic fields, even of weak quality, have an effect upon our microbiome, which is really essential to our whole being.
This is going to eviscerate microbial DNA inside human beings, which is our effective operating. Number one, so it may not impact human DNA in laboratory experiments right now, and they're saying it doesn't impact human DNA. But given that human DNA is less than 1% of the cellular DNA in the human body, the rest of the cellular DNA is microbial, and we know that this will eviscerate microbial DNA. So we're talking about a takedown of the operating system of human beings.
Exactly. I couldn't have put it better myself.
Because I don't think that there actually is any type of pandemic happening at all, folks. I think that there's very likely some sort of genetic specific virus that's been released in China, some sort of a pathogen that's been released in China to affect the Chinese people, and then all they need to bring it out to the rest of the world is propaganda.
Although we are constantly exploring the subject, currently there is no direct evidence that links cell phone usage to brain cancer.
There are dozens and dozens of studies that show beyond any doubt what this radiation is doing.
No doubt now that electric waves, electromagnetic forces cause direct biological effects. There's thousands of peer-reviewed papers on this subject. There's no doubt about it.
There's a very interesting report that came out by Bill Ryan about 10 years ago that a few people have shared with me.
And then the next thing that happens in this chess game that's being played is that biological weapons are released on China. You heard this being discussed in this meeting. They will release a flu-like virus that will be genetically targeted against the Chinese population. It's racially targeted against the Chinese people. It's designed to spread like wildfire and to knock out a large number of the Chinese people. And these people in this meeting were laughing about this. They said, China will catch a cold. Those were their words. China will catch a cold.
Isn't that interesting, folks? Isn't that interesting? That would have come out 10 years ago that it would be saying that.
But you can cause neurological damage and cancers with low-level microwaves, and you can make all your opponents sick. It's a perfect weapon for a government.
Why was the University of Rochester recruiting medical student subjects when the baseline requirement was they had to be 100% ethnic Chinese? Looks like DNA collection to me. This has been going on since 2003, folks. This is DNA collection that you would use if you wanted to tailor some type of genetically specific virus or biological agent to release in China, just to create some sort of a epidemic in China that then you can then use to simulate markers of the common cold. And then you can say, well, in the West, anybody who's got these markers of the common cold may have this terrible coronavirus. So it's a way of splitting everybody up and getting everybody paranoid about everybody else and needing the government to come in and protect you, folks. And it's one big scam. It really is. I don't think there is any coronavirus. I think there's some sort of pathogen that's been released in China, and I think the rest of it is just a scam. It's a propaganda exercise. It's in Australia. They're saying they expect 1 million people to get it in Australia. Of course, it probably won't be until they turn on the 5G system, folks, but
5G, first and foremost, is densification. So it's significantly more transmitters at close proximity to a human, and it is also a sophisticated, illegal, unlawful transmitter. What I mean by that is it is a high gain dielectric lens antenna, and what that allows 5G transmitters to do is to 3D map its environment in your home. The 868 megahertz frequency is specific for battlefield interrogation systems, so sub-gigahertz. It allows the signal to travel through concrete brickwork with ease, and it can actually data gather. It is a target acquiring system. Phased array is basically radar off the battlefield. It is extremely good at identifying targets and being able to lock onto targets. And not only that, it can specifically target you as an individual. So any judge sitting on an interesting case, let's say, any lawyer, any barrister, anybody doing any work that is potentially controversial, your life could be at threat.
So the connection between chemtrails and 5G.
It's all interconnected. The metallized particulates, that would allow the 5G phased array, so basically the radar, that would allow it to be able to identify you, so it can watch you, it can identify you in your own home 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
For the last X amount of years, we've been through chemtrailing, and that is now the cat is out of the box. We've had these nanoparticulates raining down on humanity for years now, impregnating our bodies, by best account staying inside our bodies. Those nanoparticulates, what you're saying, are building up a kind of a phosphorescence glow capability so that we can be flagged up in our homes, behind concrete and steel, inside bunkers, in the basement, doesn't matter where you are. The 5G will be able to now triangulate, map, and read you, because you as a living being are impregnated with these nanoparticulates, which are acting as a kind of transmission and reception technology.
It's exactly, absolutely exactly.
more people dying from the flu by the minute than there are by coronavirus, folks. So, this whole thing is a propaganda stunt by the government. This whole thing is a political exercise. This whole thing is part of their end game. The only thing to be concerned about is the steps that the governments are going to implement under the pretext of protecting us from the so-called coronavirus.